That sucks. Okay. It's still been really, really cold in Georgia with the ground being frozen outside, so I decided to teach a lot of the horses the beginnings of Spanish walk. So here I have Snipes, and I'm practicing getting him to step on the step block or attempt to based on my cue, and then when he does, I reward him with a positive voice and a rub. He wasn't really in the mood today for treats. He's kind of funny that way, but he really was appreciating a good rub and some affection. So I would go and I would ask for the cue with the stick and to get him to use the exact leg that I wanted, and then I would reward. And then I would go back, and after I gave him a good rub and make him back up, and then reward him for that. So we finally got warmer weather in Georgia, and I was able to play with some new toys that I got, and this makes a loud clapping sound. So how I like to introduce things to them with Snipes was by walking and bringing it away from him, so he would have to follow. And he is generally a very curious horse and actually pretty confident in himself, so he's pretty fun to work with. One thing that has been difficult with him is he can be very distracted, so doing these little games was really good at getting him to kind of focus and pay attention. I used a lot of pressure and release, so the type of behavior I was wanting. Here, if he goes to move still or moves, I want him to stand still, so I'm going to hold it until I get some type of relaxation, a lick and chew, standing still where he's learning to control the situation. And then I back away, so then you're always leading with the confidence. Not only did I use pressure and release, but I also used positive reinforcement, which can be very helpful. And so now you can see he's starting to understand the game here was we hear loud sound, we stand, or we go towards it. And so again, anytime he dropped his head or he acknowledged me or licked and chewed or took a deep breath or blinked his eyes or turned his ear, cocked a leg to relax, anything like that, I would reward by taking the sound away. And again, it's always good to video yourself because we inevitably make mistakes. There were a couple of times where I messed up on the timing where he gave me something and I missed it, but it's always good to try and keep going as you go. And reward right there, he dropped his head. And I got a lick and chew. And again, I'm going to ask with the sound, and the minute he stops, I stop it. And then we moved on to the umbrella. And it was the same kind of concept. I introduced it to him by walking away with it. And again, there's no pressure on the halter or the lead rope. I'm just getting him to build up his confidence and to follow the object. And again, anytime he shows curiosity in it, which I kind of missed it there because I didn't see he came towards the umbrella, I try to take it away. So it entices them to want to move towards it. You're going to encourage that curiosity.
Oh my goodness, what is that?
And again, he was pretty good with the umbrella going above his head. He just kind of wanted to look at it. What my goal was here was to get their dropping of the head, which he did. And so I took the pressure away. And he went and he sniffed the umbrella, so then I pushed it away. So again, kind of one of the concepts is when there's pressure and they're moving around, to teach them how to control their body and to stand still. And then you also want to be able to have the horse learn that it can move from that position as well. But here I rewarded him with a food reward for standing and taking a deep breath. And then I moved to the other side. And he generally got the idea opening and closing it next to him. Got a little bit of a flinch, but he acknowledged me, so I gave him a reward. And then I do it again. And he wasn't too concerned about it. So then I gave him another reward. So here I introduced the Tarp, trying to keep it all nice and positive, playing off of trying to get the curiosity involved. And he was pretty fond of following the Tarp, which is always fun when they have that idea. And so the minute he stepped on it, I rewarded him for that. And then we practiced walking over the Tarp. And a good idea to practice this in the beginning is keeping the Tarp narrow, and then step by step, once you build their confidence, you can get them to walk over larger portions of the Tarp. So once I got him comfortable walking over it, then I flap it from the side to side, and he would relax his body, so I would reward him. Interesting about this horse, he kind of prefers things in the right eyeball, so you'll see it's a little harder for me to get into his left side.
Good boy, well done.
But again, I'm rewarding him every time he relaxes his body. And this is should be fairly easy for him. He's used to having a blanket on, so it's not quite like a wild Mustang, but still, they can get scared if the Tarp makes lots of sounds. So he acknowledged the Tarp, and I rewarded him with the food reward. And I'm just kind of moving it around on his body. He dropped his head, took a breath. All of those things are really positive, so we're going to reward. So now I'm going to practice walking with the Tarp next to him. So I'm going to kind of be the buffer. So I'll place my body right next to his shoulder. Now, if anything was to happen, I can just drop the Tarp back away and all will be fine. But he's pretty comfortable. I'm reading him, listening to him. And again, anytime he takes a breath and relax, I take the pressure away and we stop and we get a food reward. Next, I'm just going to let it drag on the opposite side. He's staying pretty relaxed. He's handling all this pretty well. So I'm pretty content with going forward. And again, I give him a food reward for accepting the Tarp. Now I'm going to give it a little bit more length, so then it will drag on the opposite side. And he's handling this really well. This is good preparation for a horse to have stuff used to dragging next to them if anything is to happen with a rider. And we want to make sure the horse is comfortable. Sometimes you have blankets slip and fall. You don't want your horse kicking and freaking out. So I like to do this to prepare my horses just in general for life. It's just good to have them nice and quiet and accepting. So there it slid off. He stepped on his foot, but I was really proud of him for the day.
You've never eaten soaked alfalfa cubes. You like those? Is that good stuff?
I really like to use soaked alfalfa cubes, which Johnny was really enjoying. And I found it's really beneficial to feed prior to riding and as well as snacks before and after feeding. So they really enjoy the Stanley Alfalfa Timothy cubes, as well as I like to use the pellets for treats.